And with that, Joe Thomas, he had his official Hall of Fame bust revealed over the weekend. They had the entire induction ceremony. Joe, well received, as expected. Did you guys listen to his speech real quick before we get into the bust and the rest? What do you think about his speech?
I thought he seemed a little nervous. I mean, which is understandable, but
yeah.
I thought that he seemed just a little bit nervous. It was a well-written speech. It was fine.
I think he was very emotional, and it was, you know, I mean, that's, you never know how you're going to react to that. Joe is so smooth all the time that I think because he wasn't maybe as smooth as he always is.
You know when I think he's best is when he's just on with us.
Yeah.
Just being a guest.
This was such a moment.
It was huge.
And I love that his wife and his kids were involved. It was so cool. It was so on brand for Joe. By the way, have you seen the pictures of what's his son's name? Jack, maybe?
Jack booing or
thumbs
Jack
down,
thumbs down the field.
Fan. I love that.
So awesome.
Loved it. Kid was raised right, man. Kid was raised right.
I thought, I mean, I thought Joe was great. I thought he gave recognition to the right people. I thought he came off awesome. I think he weighs less than Darrelle Revis now.
I think you're right.
I mean, listen, there's nothing you can say bad about Joe. He by all accounts, I don't know him that well. I know him a little bit. Always been kind. He's nice to everybody, fans, media. He's just a class act all the way. Nobody worked harder. Great representation of Cleveland, of the Browns. He is 100 out of 100.
Yeah.
Sometimes in these speeches, I think it's so hard to get it right. Like, because you don't want to come off too over the top, and you don't want to come off too gloomy. I know people that went up there and just had a cry fest from like 2 hours. You're like, bro, you made it. You did the first. This the highest pinnacle of your sport. Why are you crying the whole time? I just think it's really difficult. And plus, when you're dealing with Joe, who's like he's a humble dude. Like some people, some people be fake humble. Some people can act like they're humble, but they really got an ego. I don't think Joe Thomas has a very big ego, so it's difficult sometimes to kind of capture, the correct emotion that you want, especially if you're a guy who doesn't have what we would say, touchdowns, or he doesn't have interceptions, or he doesn't have any of those stats. What he does have is he's just like, I'm just better than everybody that ever came through at this position, and I work hard. I love my teammates. I want to be a good teammate. So sometimes it's hard to convey those things. I think he's glad it's over because he's not a guy that wants a bunch of attention. I think he'll be much more excited about it as the years go on. He'll be like, wow, I actually made it.
They usually say that in the moment it's such a blur, it hasn't sunk in. Down the road when he makes his first visit to Canton and sees his bust in the display, maybe it might hit him then. I think for me, it was, and I heard from some of my friends that are national that live in other places that aren't Browns fans. One of them said, bro, I forgot how bad the Browns were. Like the one thing that it shined a light on was how bad we sucked.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got, I shouldn't say he, because 0% his fault, but the winning percentage of the Browns when he played games for them is the lowest winning percentage of any player in the Hall of Fame.
And that's what another friend said.
Right.
If he was so good, why were they so bad? And I'm like, bro.
That's a ridiculous question.
I know.
I mean, come on.
He was kidding, but
yeah,
I'm like,
okay.
He plays, he plays a very important position.
Yeah.
But he's not throwing passes or catching passes.
They just never put anything around them.
They never put the pieces around them.
Shame.
Another friend said, damn, your management sucked. Like, you had a cornerstone at a position that's really hard to get a cornerstone, and you did nothing with them. All facts, all true. And it just reminded me, hearing him and other people throughout the ceremony talking, just how bad they were. And you almost, I don't know how you're that bad.
You think about it, and they actually he had some good offensive linemen around him during his time with the Browns. But if you look at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end that played with Joe, he never played with a special he never even played with an average quarterback.
No.
The only special wide receiver he ever played with was Josh Gordon, who destroyed his own career, and it was for really 1 year.
Right.
The only special running back he played with was Nick Chubb.
And that was for a very brief time.
And that's at the end of his career. And then tight end, he never played with anybody special. So, I mean, it's, you've talked about this a million times. They've just, and that's what we're talking about now to some degree. Now they've got Bitonio, who's probably has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Myles Garrett has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. Nick Chubb has a chance to be a Hall of Famer. They got to win with these guys because
Well,
they didn't win with Joe.
what-
They never
so-
went to the playoffs with him.
No, but what's really striking to me is,
Yeah.
as I was kind of juxtaposing Joe's era to now, okay, you can almost understand how you can have a 25 winning percentage when you've got one all-time great player because that's all you have. What an indictment it's going to be on this team if at the end of all of this, Nick Chubb, Bitonio, and Myles Garrett all go in the Hall of Fame, because I think you're right. They're all arcing that way right now. What do they have to show for that?
Zero.
They have a playoff win.
One playoff win so far. Now, again, we got a couple of years to go.
No, listen.
But,
I know,
and they could go to the Super Bowl this year if everything goes well.
And then it would be fine.
But for now, to this point in time, it's
just
been wasted.
Don't have 3 Hall of Famers
That's
go in
right.
there and say, yeah, these guys never did anything in the playoffs either.
I was just alarmed at how well, like in that quarterback show on Netflix. You know, my cousin that came over from Wisconsin, and you know he's a transplant from Ohio, but he lives in Wisconsin, so he lives in like the state capital, Madison. And he's like, he's like, you know, I'm a Packer. We watch the Packers all the time. I watch the Packers and the Browns. And he said, I didn't even know the Vikings had won 12 games last year. And he was like, that just goes to show you, like, the Browns have been so bad. It's been hard to be that bad. Because if you watch their team, they got Justin Jefferson, and granted, they got Kirk Cousins, but
Well, they had Dalvin Cook.
they had Dalvin Cook too as well.
I don't know. How do you not know they had 12 wins? They play in the same division as the Packers.
It's just like
I think his point is almost like there are sneaky teams that win a bunch of games. They didn't do anything in the playoffs. Remember, they lost in the first round.
Right.
And that happens all the time, but it never seems to happen with the Browns.
Never, exactly. It never happens. Like
Yeah.
if you know, like, could you ever say, "Hey, did you know the Browns won 12 games?"
Yeah,
oh,
I
you
know.
gonna know it.
Yeah, they'll build a statue for that team.
It was just a random footnote.
That needs to change, and it needs to change immediately.
That's crazy, man.
Speaking of statues,
Better change.
Yeah.
we had asked Joe when he was on the show about his bust. Was he going to go as Skinny Joe, Fat Joe, Bearded Joe, chugging a beer Joe? And I think the final result came out pretty damn good.
Oh, they nailed it.
And we can take it full here. So we have 2 different pictures. Here's Joe with the bust. And we have a
awesome.
little more of a close-up if you want to see exactly what it looked like. But in my opinion, they nailed the facial features.
They did.
That looks
They went with
like
the
Joe
full salad.
Amazing.
I mean, they went with they gave him some hair.
Yeah, they did, and it's flowing too.
Yeah, he's got the curl locks going.
Yeah,
That's a nice bust, man. They did it up.
Yeah.
Jim Donovan did a piece on Channel 3. It's about a 5-minute piece on the artist and Joe sitting down for like 8 hours.
Twice. 2 different days.
Twice. It was a lot of good behind-the-scenes footage. It was a really good piece. If you get a chance, it's on WKYC.com. It was well done. I thought all the busts looked really, really good. And when I think statues, the one that comes to mind,
Ronaldo.
yes, as like the worst. Like, what the hell happened there? You know, like how did someone was paid to do that? And it doesn't look anything like it. And the other one was Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. That statue.
that was terrible.
That I think I don't know who they got to do it, but he wasn't a very good artist.
Nope.
That's important. That's forever.
Like it don't go nowhere. It's just now. Here's who is
That's Ronaldo.
Jiminy? Man, that looked like, oh my goodness, this is.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
the only time Ronaldo's ever not looked like
It looks like a character
a
from The Walking
supermodel.
Dead.
That looks like Skinny Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z.
I have no idea who that is.
The internet gonna be on fire because of that. That's gonna be fun. Make sure you cut that. That is Majin Buu.
Cut it.
That is Majin Buu, not Skinny Buu. It's Skinny Evil Buu when he absorbed Gotenks and Trunks. They're looking around.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
No
right now?
idea. No clue.
That's going to shut it down, McNuggets. Trust me, Anthony knows what I'm talking about.
Anthony laughs. He gave a genuine chuckle as you said that.
Yeah, look, he was like, "Ha, that was great."
Is it
G."
nerd stuff?
It's just anime.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
can't remember
I'm
now
not-
because
I'm not-
Aaron said something to me the other day, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Dad, G and Anthony would understand."
He know, yeah, I get it.
I can't remember what it was.
That's
but I was
right.
like,
Yeah, see, look, you gotta be in it.
Yeah.
You
It had
gotta
to be
know.
Pokemon, right?
no, I don't think it was Pokemon. It was
No,
something
you-
else. I can't remember. I've got to try to think of it.
See, you gotta.
He'll remember.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
One more question on the Hall of Fame for you guys before we pivot on to our next thing. Do we still need, as a country and a league here, and it was cool because it was the Browns this year, but most years it's not the Browns. It varies every year who plays in the Hall of Fame game. Do we still need the game as part of the weekend-long
Of
ceremony?
course we do.
Yes, 100%.
I got that question, and I'm like, what do you have against the Hall of Fame game?
Listen, nobody.
Me personally,
let me tell you
I'll
something.
go last.
I got to say this. I want to go on a rant here because your former colleague Tim Cowlishaw made a. Did you hear?
I haven't heard that man's name in a minute.
Yeah.
So
I like Tim. Tim's actually a good guy.
I like
this
him.
is
in
where it
general.
came
I don't
from, by
know
the
him
way.
personally, but I usually like him when he's on Around the Horn. He's one of the few I can stomach on that show.
I like him.
But he made kind of a not nice comment when he goes, when the power went out, which is a freak thing. What are you going to do?
No, I know.
It happens.
Yeah.
He's like, they should take that
Well,
game.
hell, it happened at a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
So let's remember that.
He said, why don't they take that game away from Canton and go to Pittsburgh? And then he was like, no, or maybe Cleveland. And I'm like, don't.
Okay,
Tim,
now that is a horrible
stupid.
take.
That's stupid. Listen, Canton, it's all about the Hall of Fame.
Listen, I'm so pissed that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for their induction takes it to L.A. or New York.
Well, not all the time.
No, but most of the time.
Sometimes,
they've commandeered it away from Cleveland.
That's right.
Could you imagine if baseball said, we're not going to Cooperstown this year, we're going to do it in New
know.
York?
Not cool.
The coastal cities get enough crap. Like, why can't the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame every year?
Get inducted,
if you don't want to come, stay in New York.
Then you don't get in.
Stay in L.A. We don't care.
Then you don't get in. But I would say, listen.
To move it to Pittsburgh.
It's the
That's
birthplace
ridiculous.
of football.
It's so important to the city of Canton.
My God,
the whole thing, and the Hall of Fame is gorgeous. The stadium's beautiful.
Listen,
have you
what they've done, I was
around
over
it?
there for a week
Yeah.
last week, every day. It is an amusement park over there. They've got the old Ferris wheel that used to be at the IX Center.
Yep.
They've got zip lines. They've got another ride that's
There's
on
gonna be a
goalpost.
water park eventually.
Water park's going to break ground this fall.
Yeah.
It's going to be open next year. Like, it's literally a village. It's a football village. And
It's awesome.
I talk to a lot of fans from all over. You see gear from all 32.
Everywhere.
And I talk to people from Buffalo to Los Angeles, Seattle. They love it. They
come
love
in
it.
every year.
That's right.
It's like a pilgrimage to come to
100%.
Canton where it all began and to feel close to the Hall of Fame and to go through the actual museum and all
It's
that.
awesome.
So,
Don't
Tim,
mess with it.
I love Tim Cowlishaw.
Yeah.
That's a terrible take.
I mean, especially Pittsburgh.
And the idea that they wouldn't play the game, like, it's not like it's the Pro Bowl. Like, I've got no use for the Pro Bowl.
No,
Right.
that's a waste of time.
If you want to get rid of something, get rid of the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah.
Like, that's the game that I'm like, what the hell? Why are they even doing this? What is this
I
nonsense?
grew up in Canton. I could see the Hall of Fame dang there from my old house. Like, it's such a big thing for the city, and I'm glad that they're putting the money and the energy back into it.
I
Because
am
for
too.
a while, it was getting stale. But as far as a pilgrimage is concerned, I've never seen this in sports. Is the coolest thing in the world is being in Canton as a guy that lives there, and to see when people get inducted, and you start to see people in their Bills jerseys,
Yeah.
49ers jerseys.
Right.
Listen, hey, I took a picture with Ed Reed. And Ed Reed, I saw him at a gas station. This was before I even was
Yeah, it's really cool.
He said, hey, big dog, where can we get some food at right now? I got my whole family. Man,
Wow.
this dude had
Nice.
40 people with Ed Reed jerseys on, and people. It just shows you how much people love their teams that they would take the time out to go to Canton to celebrate somebody that don't even play for their team no more, to show their admiration, to show how much they meant to these people. And these guys are in the stands, and it's their wife, their kids, their grandchildren. And these guys haven't played for the team in years.
Right.
And by the way,
It's
all
their
the people.
football graduation.
It
All the
is.
people that say stupid stuff like that have never spent time here, because I know I have a lot of friends, and my wife has a lot of friends that had never been to Cleveland before they met us, or Northeast Ohio. I know we're talking about Canton.
Mm-hmm.
And every single friend and family member that's come to visit has said, wow, you guys got such a great life here.
Yeah.
What a great place to live.
I
It's sort of
agree.
I have a friend I worked with in New York for a long time by the name of Peter Schwartz. He does work on CBS Sports Radio. You know Peter?
Yeah, yep.
Anyway, he's a huge Jets fan. He came into he went to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, took his whole family.
Wow.
His son is an aspiring long snapper in college.
Wow, how about
And
that?
he went to the Guardians game over the weekend. He had a ball here in Cleveland, went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, did all those things, had a great time. Everybody that actually spends time in Cleveland or Canton at the Hall of Fame just loves it here. So it's only people that are ignorant and not willing to travel.
Yeah, I hate to hear that
say
kind
stupid
of talk.
stuff like that.
It's not going to die. I can tell you that. The league
and I love going to Cooperstown too.
Cooperstown's
amazing.
If for those that haven't been, it's particularly in the summer. It's one of the most beautiful vistas that you can imagine. You come through the mountains, and then all of a sudden there's this gorgeous lake with a beautiful championship caliber golf course right there.
Yeah.
The old hotel, which feels like you're walking back into the 1930s.
Yeah.
The museum, the town, the village. It's
incredible.
Like old school America with a dome over it.
They don't have the game anymore, but I actually did play-by-play for 2 Hall of Fame games.
Oh, wow.
For our local station, because when I was working in Utica, we were only an hour away. So.
I love Cooperstown. I love Canton.
Yep.
Springfield. I've been to the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I have not been
Springfield.
to Basketball Hall of Fame.
Of the 3, it's my least favorite.
I'm not surprised.
There's a lot of guys in there that you're like, who? I don't know.
Well, because it's not just the NBA.
No, I know. It's
which doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Well, I mean, in truth, this is the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Right. And
so
it's the Major League Baseball
and the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. So
right.
I don't know. I really enjoy Canton. I love the game.
Don't
it's not
change
going
anything.
away.
Don't change
the
anything.
The light thing was unfortunate for sure.
Of course.
But it happened in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
These things can happen. And it
Real
wasn't
quick
ideal
before
for
we go, one of my Ken Riley was a favorite of mine when I was a young boy.
I remember number 13.
And what a shame that he doesn't go into the Hall of Fame until after he's dead.
Yeah, I know. I thought the same thing about Don Coryell.
Yeah, it just sucks when that happens.
Yeah,
he was 4th all-time in interceptions when he retired. When did he retire? Like 84, I think, 83. And he's still tied for 5th to this day.
Do you think baseball will put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame after he passes?
I don't know what they're going to do. Technically, it's that. By the way, that's not the writers.
No, now
he's not eligible to be voted. He was never eligible to be voted because they made him ineligible.
Right. He's never been on the ballot.
Right.
But it just seems to me that at some point he's got to be there.
Well, I mean, I think
especially now the game has embraced gambling the way it has.
Yeah, he still cheated at the time. Listen. They should have just banned him from being part of baseball and let him go in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I would put the steroid guys in the Hall of Fame too. And,
I would too.
I mean, it's part of the history of the game.
Yep, I agree, and it all should be there. Go ahead, Mike.
So Joe Thomas was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and as they do every year, the list of guys eligible to be first ballot Hall of Famers next year came out this weekend as well. And here's just a couple of the guys who are eligible, some of the bigger names. We've got 10 or 11 to read here, but you have Julius Peppers, Antonio Gates, Eric Berry, Andrew Luck, Haloti Nada, Steve, you can take the next one, Jamal Charles, Brandon Marshall, Jordy Nelson, Doug Baldwin, Adam Pac-Man Jones, and Cleveland's own Phil Dawson. So let's have a fun little conversation quick, but of those 11, in their primes, which one do you think would help this current Browns team the most?
Andrew Luck.
Ooh, you're going quarterback.
I mean, why not? He was tremendous.
He was, but since my assumption, and it's obviously a good choice, since my assumption is that Watson's going to play as well as Andrew Luck played this year, because he has in the past, then I would take a guy from a spot that I don't have a great player, and I'd take Haloti Nada, who I think is if not a first ballot Hall of Famer, will probably be a Hall of Famer. He's one of the all-time.
He'll definitely be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he'll be a first ballot, but he'll be
he will be. And he was the ultimate run stopper.
Yeah, he was
great. So I would take him.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, I always go to this thing called player eligible. It's like a future legend score. And so basically what they do is they take different things at different point totals, and they basically extrapolate it out and say, we're going to give you, say for instance, we'll give you 5 points for first team All-Pro, 3 points for second team All-Pro, 15 points for a first team all-decade team, so on and so forth. If you win a regular season MVP, they give you like 9 points. So basically, as you accumulate and rack up the points, obviously the more points you have is the highest you can get. So basically, when you look at that and you look at the years in inductees, Julius Peppers has 54 points. Antonio Gates has 38 points. Eric Berry, which I was surprised had that many points because he was injured a whole lot, had 32 points. Haloti Nada had 27 points. And I think the next couple guys, I think there's a couple. Jamal Charles had 17 and Brandon Marshall had 14.
So who are you taking? Peppers or Gates?
I would probably, man, if I got Myles Garrett and Julius Peppers, you might as well chalk it up. I mean, but we got 2 other guys I think are pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's had Hall of Fame defensive ends, both of them, maybe the Steelers at one time. But if you give me Haloti Ngata in his prime, and I got Dalvin Tomlinson and I got, Zadarius Smith, I lied to you. Give me Julius Peppers. I lied to you, dog. If you give
Nobody took Phil Dawson.
Phil Dawson has 7 points. 7. Now,
I don't know that I buy into that completely because, for instance, MVPs, like Andrew Luck played when Brady and Manning played.
That's tough to make.
And so it's going to be very tough to
Right.
win an MVP and even be an All-Pro.
Yeah,
because there were such all-time greatest ever.
Andrew Luck's not going to the Hall of Fame because he didn't play long enough.
Yeah, four.
I think he will go eventually.
Really?
I don't think he's not nowhere
I
near
don't
first
think
ballot.
so.
What did he play? 8 years?
No,
No,
not
6.
even.
Oh, 6.
And four Pro
They never
Bowls
did
out of
anything in
the
the
6.
playoffs. So
They made it to an AFC championship.
did they?
I think
They did make an AFC championship. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He only played 6 seasons.
what a-
In
what a
6
shame.
seasons,
You can't go to the Hall.
threw
tough.
171 touchdowns to 83
Dale Sayers
picks.
had a very, very
Yeah,
short
that's a
career,
different.
but
Same thing with
running
Terrell
back.
Davis, but
Yeah.
that
And he had 83 picks.
yeah, he ain't going.
That's a lot of picks.
Yeah, that is a whole lot of
Yeah,
picks.
he's not going to the Hall of
Like,
Fame.
I
don't
mean,
think.
it's tough. It's tough.
He won
It's going to be
50
Not
hard.
long
games.
enough. Just
It's
not
going
long
to be
enough.
hard with quarterbacks going forward because the numbers are so big now.
Yeah.
In comparison, that there are guys who are going to put up huge numbers that I don't look at as Hall of Fame. You look at
Well, Phillip Rivers, if Phillip Rivers played in the 70s and 80s, he'd be a
in.
slam dunk Hall of Famer because
He's
his
in.
number they weren't
Right.
doing that then.
yeah.
But
well,
he
same
was
thing with
doing
Eli
that-
Manning. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame, but
Yeah, he
only
will.
because he won 2 Super Bowls.
I mean, it's Phillip Rivers. I think he's borderline. If you,
I think Phillip Rivers is
Jim-
borderline too, but
you
I'm
got-
saying he was a slam dunk
Yeah,
rubber stamp.
right.
If he put those numbers up in the 70s and 80s, but he was doing it at a time when there were 3 or 4 other
That's right.
guys at that
Matt
time
Ryan
that were doing
too,
it.
and I don't think he's going to the Hall of
there,
Fame.
not?
there are a couple
No.
outliers like that.
28-3.
If you look at Curtis Martin, when they put him in, I said,
Well, he was number 2 in rushing yards.
I
all
never
time.
thought of him as
I've
an all-time
never
great
thought
back.
like if
No,
you
I
said,
didn't either,
I
but he
never
did it for a
thought-
long time at a high level.
Right.
So Frank Gore is going in.
Yes, I think.
I never think
on that
they're
standard,
compilers. They're compilers.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
At that position where your average lifespan's 3
That's
years,
true.
if you played 13 or 14 years,
Right.
what the hell? Because
Right.
Bull, as you know, there are guys coming out of the league out
Right.
of college with fresh 21-year-old legs just
Right.
dying to take your
I know.
job. And
Especially
they
now.
couldn't unseat these guys?
And this is why if I look at Dick Chubb, I say, look, he could do what Curtis Martin does. It's just about whether or not you have the stomach. Because think about it. Nobody was saying cut Frank Gore.
No.
They kept putting him on teams. He kept playing.
But he was productive,
He was
though.
productive. As long as Nick Chubb could be productive, and then you're like, yo, the money don't matter. I'm
Plus-
just trying to get somewhere.
Plus, Nick Chubb's the type of guy that people want in the locker room.
Right.
That's
And
the
he's
big
going to
part
work
of
his
that,
ass
too.
off. You know what he does in the
Yeah,
offseason.
yeah, yeah.
He lifts, there's shots of him squatting 1,000 pounds or whatever it is. The damn bar is bent like this.
I
he
think
works
Nick-
hard. He's going to be in great shape.
I think Nick Chubb has 3 more elite seasons. He's a Hall of Famer.
And I
think he's 3 more.
If there's anybody that would not mind being like, oh, this guy's a starter, I'll just get short yardage or I'll just be a second round. Like, you wouldn't keep Nick Chubb on your team as a second back
Sure.
When he's 30
when
and
he's 31. Like,
Hell yeah.
still kicking ass
Yeah.
and being a great locker room leader.
There's a lot of chatter about him being traded
A
after
lot.
this year.
a lot.
I mean, I'm kind of like,
I'm not buying any
I'm
of
not
it.
either. I'm looking at it like, what are you people?
And what are you going to get in a trade?
I know,
He's
there's
gonna
no
have to-
value for these
He's going to
guys.
have to take a pay cut.
He'll
if-
definitely
yeah.
have to take a pay cut, and I'm
Which
sure
he probably
he's
will
fine
do.
with that.
Yeah.
But like all this chatter about, oh, he's gone. They're trading him.
No, I don't
The
see
Browns have actually come out and said, look, we value Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And there are exceptions to this. Running backs
Right.
can't be paid this much.
Right, but
and we think he's one of them.
He's on the books for $16 million. There's no way they're paying that next
They
year.
can't afford that.
And I know Joe Mixon's not as good as Nick Chubb, but Joe Mixon was smart. He's like, well, if I don't take a pay cut, I'm going to get cut, and then I'm on the market with Kareem Hunt and
Right.
Ezekiel
Yeah,
Elliott
yeah.
and all these other guys.
To me, and I've never done this in my life.
Yeah.
I have never attached myself to a person and said, under no circumstances do I want to get rid of this person. Like, I've always been a person that said, looks at the numbers, looks at the money,
Yeah.
productivity, injuries, and say, okay, move on or not. For me, I believe he is so much of a asset to the team and the organization. There will be one day that people will look at Nick Chubb just like they looked at Jim Brown. Like, not to the extent of the cultural phenomenon, but when you say running backs in the Browns organization,
Well, he's got to deliver championships for that.
Yeah, but I will say,
and rushing title year after year after year. Like, that's a lofty. You're comparing him to the Holy Grail right now.
But here's the thing: the reason I don't, if we knew what Kevin Stefanski should be doing, there's no reason that he couldn't have had the rushing title last year or the year before. Like,
Right.
they use him differently. Like, they have a system.
I just think in the end they're not going to pay him $16 million.
Well, they give him
No,
12.
and I don't
Yeah.
think anybody has a problem with it. Like, I'm sure Nick's looking around. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stupid.
And they could restructure it in a way where it
Right.
doesn't look like it's a dramatic pay cut.
Yeah.
They can stretch it out in years. There's a lot of things they can do.
They'll figure. Hopefully they'll
But-
figure out. I don't want to see Nick Chubb off this team either. But.
No, but here's what I'll say. To your point, there are very few players that I look at as royalty.
Yeah.
Walter Payton, to me, had royalty status. Like, nobody in the game had a bad word to say about him. He
Yeah.
was great in the community. Hell, it's the Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Yeah.
What better accomplishment can a player hope to achieve than the Walter Payton Man of the Year award?
I got so
Nick
sad.
Chubb is in that
Yeah,
space.
he is